Sugar rush.
Best part about this whole movie experience is that cake that
That cake that I get to eat.
did you.
Before we review the film. Hey, guys, welcome to our movie review for Hansel and Gretel. I mean Gretel and Hansel.
Hansel's so hot right now.
And where, of course, the children in the forest find a mysterious house with all sorts of delectable sweets.
Yeah, I tried to prepare myself for this movie, and I watched the Amazon Prime Hansel and Gretel and Hansel versus Gretel. It's a waste of time. Worst movies I've ever seen. Twos. Those are twos.
Wow. You saw 2 Hansel and Gretel movies?
It was
Hansel versus Gretel.
Versus Gretel. It was part 2. I was like, holy shit, they made a part 2. I had to.
Well, guys, this review is for Gretel and Hansel.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I saw some trailers for this film, and I was quite intrigued.
It looked eerie, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Looked creepy, looked eerie. A nice little twist on the, horror fairy tale. Horror fairy tale, grim fairy tale. So I was kind of excited to check it out, right? We actually went to a special event with the director there. He was doing a Q&A. Well, it's hard to see the film because it wasn't a theater. It was just, kind of a conference room. And, everybody's big fat head was in our way.
Everyone's so tall.
But that doesn't affect my experience. I stood up the whole time, basically, in the back. But so we got to see the film early. We're putting this film up after the embargo is done. What did we feel about Gretel and Hansel? Well,
a little let down.
Yeah, a little disappointed.
Yeah.
And, it's just I expected more from the film. The trailer looks really good, and I wanted to see that film. And this
did a
film
great job on that.
Did a great job marketing the film, and unfortunately, I don't think this film lives up to its genuinely interesting premise. It is a slow burn build, which is a little bit of this director's calling card so far. And ultimately, it builds. It does do a little bit of a kind of a, an interesting ending there, but it started to feel a little contrived. The dialogue started to basically break down and sort of explain itself, and I don't know. It lost a lot of the effective first half. What did you guys think?
I think it looked amazing. I think that the set design, they made a lot of choices on like not having a lot of people around, making the world kind of feel desolate, and that these kids were really in danger. And then
the lighting is good.
The lighting is good. There's some couple like not gory but like really like interesting scenes.
Filmed very well. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and went nowhere.
Yeah.
It just like you said, slow burn, and then you're like, oh, it's gonna get somewhere, and it's just like, no,
that's exactly
not
how I
going
felt too.
anywhere.
It's like it was pretty to look at, but you have to catch my attention.
Yeah. Here's the thing: there is a twist on the tail as promised, but the twist made me more like, all right, eye roll rather than the original storyline. When you're reimagining has less exciting moments and story beats and profoundness and memories of the original, then it's like, well, why did you do it?
Exactly. Had they stuck with the original story where there's 2 little kids
and filmed it in this style with this music, that's in my opinion probably one of the better parts of the film is the music by Rob. Just Rob.
Oh, cool.
Just R-O-B.
Thanks, Rob.
I guess Rob, the little robot from Nintendo, decided to do music. And at one point, I was like, okay, getting a little too video gamey with your music here because there's...
I know this.
Hey, Rob, cut it out. He did kind of go a little techno-y, a little
there was one,
synthy, where I'm like, come on, dial it back, Rob. I mean, I'm enjoying the music so far. But like I said, great visuals, interesting set design. Set design very well. Lighting interesting. So competently directed. I will give the director his props here, but maybe his screenplay wasn't quite up to par.
Yeah,
with
he didn't
her
write
song.
the film. Someone else
Yeah.
wrote it for him.
I think Sophia did a great job with what she.
Which
And
one?
who
Is
is
she the
Sophia?
witch or the young one?
Gretel.
Gretel?
You got Gretel.
Gretel. Yeah.
From It.
Yeah, I think all the performances were good. I didn't have a
Oh,
problem
that's
with
right. That is the girl from It. Okay.
Yes.
Well, the film mostly centers on Gretel. This is a story, in my opinion, mostly about Gretel. You've got historically these two have always been linked by that little Gretel and Hansel and Gretel kind of thing. Here, it's mostly Gretel's story, so be prepared for that. Be prepared for Gretel's journey. Hansel is mainly a supporting character that is kind of pushed out of the film mostly. And this sort of looks within the Gretel character and, of course, the witch. This is another effective part of the film. I think the actress that played the witch did a fantastic job of being, sort of creepy, eerie, mysterious, threatening, but yet
Inviting.
but somewhat inviting. I mean, she doesn't
I want to
really
know
look.
more about you.
Yeah, she's actually terrifying to look at. If I'm being completely honest, she nails the witch look. I'm sure they gave her some prosthetics, a little bit of a cannibal teeth looking thing. We've seen that in the trailer she pulls, the hair out of her mouth and little pieces attached to the hair. That was a great scene. And unfortunately, there's not very many scenes like that.
Yeah.
There's not very many great scenes that really pay off. Can you guys think how many moments in this film reached that level?
Maybe one.
One other level. Yeah, I think maybe one
was,
or two.
Yeah. But that was a top one. That was a top tier one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So it builds and it builds over Act 1 and 2, and even some Act 3, and then it lightning strikes, and it's like, did you build this up with our characters here well enough? And I don't think it did. It broke my suspension of disbelief a little bit, and it was too putting a bow and tightening that bow on it.
Yeah. I mean,
Go ahead and take it over.
you kind of hit the nail on the head from my point of view. Is if you're going to take something that we know and you're going to change a story that is hundreds and hundreds of years old and do your own spin on things, make it worth it. Do something exciting with it. And what you did is you took a classic story, you changed it in a way that you made it worse. You took away a lot of the tension. You added all these like contrivances and weirdness and tropes that just didn't belong. And if it had just been about a witch fattening up two kids to put them in an oven and then they just somehow throw her in the oven instead, it would have been a better movie.
And about these kids being more clever than the witch.
Nothing
and
to do with
having
anything
to improvise. In the original fairy tale, they improvise many times. Hansel leaves pebbles behind, then he leaves breadcrumbs, which eventually get eaten by the birds. They get lost. They find the lady. They trick the witch into going into the oven because she's like, going to the oven. Let me show you kids how to do this, and then burn, bitch. Exactly. So cleverness and really these two characters cooperating. In this film, there is basically none of what I just described.
No, there's none of it. It doesn't make any sense.
And it instead focuses more on the fact that there are witches in this universe and magic power in this universe. They make their own fairy tale within the fairy tale. And my opinion is they've moved too far away from the idea of Gretel and Hansel and that grim, dark fairy tale and a retelling of that. And they're focusing mainly more on world building in this new tale to give a little bit of something for these characters to do other than the original storyline. But if it's not as well done as the original story, it's like, well, why? And it wasn't quite as satisfying. And with all the skill on display here, they had some visual effects. They had some great lighting, great music. I would have loved to have seen a more faithful adaptation and maybe a more horror twist on it rather than a children's kind of tale. And it would have been more satisfying.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the way we see it. Most everybody in this movie is a named character. That was something that the director really wanted. The director didn't want this to be set in New York with a bunch of extras. He wanted everybody in the film to matter. However, that kind of is broken too. At the beginning of the film, there's a moment that we could talk about in the spoilers that doesn't really fit with that. But he's right in the sense that there's no like extras. It's really just focusing on some key characters.
Yeah, but I guess I don't.
Let's go in the spoilers for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's just jump
make
into
sense.
final verdicts. Make this one shorter and jump into the spoilers. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, for me, this is gonna be a below average film. It was a 4. I was let down. I was hoping to find something cool. Yes, it
There
was.
wasn't a whole lot of sweets,
Right.
Joe. Where was the
No, it's like-
candies?
no,
Where was the bacon?
It's basically that cake looks amazing, but you taste it, you're like, it's not good. That's
Well, this cake
basically
is
what
good.
it was. Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like everything worked except for the story that was told. So for me, it's a 4.
Okay.
I-
Below average.
Ditto. Well,
All right.
I mean, the thing is, like, the world was well built. It was well shot. It was well acted. There was some really. It had everything going for it, except for the most goddamn important thing
story!
about is a story. And the thing is, what's so maddening is
You had the best story.
you had a story that was written like
Really good.
however many 100 years ago, and you're like, you already had this story. So you took the one thing that you already had. You did all the hard parts, and you fucked up the easy thing.
Where's the
And
screenwriter, Joe? Look up the screenwriter.
And so you lose a ton of points that way because it just this movie meanders, and I don't even like slow burn because I don't think this movie builds. It's not like it's getting more and more tense as it goes on. It gets more and more exciting.
Yeah,
it's not.
not.
It's just meandering, and it just stops me. And you're like, okay,
And
we're
some feature
Rob Hayes.
showcases of the lore in the universe.
is it also Rob?
Rob Hayes.
Rob.
The Robs. No, there was one good Rob and one bad Rob.
Well, mostly good Rob.
Mostly good Rob.
Oh, so that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with a 4 because you screwed up something that was handed to you.
I'm also going to grade that exactly the same. The final verdict for this film is a 4 out of 10, slightly below average. It gains pretty much all those points due to competent acting, great direction, good cinematography, and great music. It probably even earns another point for, attempting to do something different, but then it loses it for it not being executed, and the story just not having enough meat on its bones for us to better connect with the character of Gretel. It is so important to connect with the character of Gretel in this, and if you're not really invested in her
You're in for
in
a
her
long
character,
ride.
then it doesn't resonate with you, and the ending will not resonate with you. The ending will make you go, cool, yeah.
That's neat.
And let me just say, it's a film. I think I could say this without getting too much into spoiler territory. It's a bit of a female empowerment message, I believe. So, let that sink in. It's definitely not anything like the fairy tale that you know. So keep an open mind if you're planning to go to this one, but know that at least all three of us found it disappointing at the same level. So, guys, if you want to know exactly why we found it disappointing, join us in the spoiler section. But it looks like the January horror movie curse has maintained itself, right? Did we get a good January horror film? We got The Grudge.
F.
Didn't work. The Turning
F.
didn't work. This one, not quite an F.
It's not an F.
But a little bit better. It just didn't execute, and ultimately was a lesser story than the original nostalgic story that we know. And you wonder why it was told, and why the studio Orion really wanted to tell this particular story. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Join us in the spoiler section if you want to know what happens, right? All right. See you there. Guys, welcome to the spoiler section. Go ahead, one of you guys, so I can eat my cake, so I can have my cake and I can eat it too.
All right, so the world starts out exactly as you know it. Things are rough in the world of Hansel and Gretel. People aren't eating very well. The father's dead. I don't think they explicitly explain why, but the father's passed away. The mother pretty much can't afford to keep them. So she just says, "Get out of here!" Or like, "Go! I don't care what you do. Go dig your own graves."
And she's like, get out of here! I'll chop you into little pieces.
Try to get rid
She
of
uses
some
the axe.
guy, right?
Yeah, they try to
maid
go
or
to be just like, hey, go try to be a housekeeper for this
Yeah.
one super creepy dude, and he asks like, "Are you pure? Are you intact?" And she's like,
Yeah,
a
you
little
can tell
girl.
he was just going to use her as a whore.
It was horrible, and so they leave and they go into the forest. They encounter a zombie, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
I thought it was a
That's what I was gonna
vampire.
say.
or just like, and
I'm pretty sure it was a vampire.
and it's never mentioned again. They go to sleep in a bed.
So they find this house relatively intact.
There's candles
warm,
everywhere.
Warm. It's like, okay, they found someplace they can be, and they go to sleep in this nice bed, and all of a sudden we see a white-headed figure, like big old egghead, appear, and the kids look over and scream. He's like, ah! And he screams, and they scream, and they start running. He starts running after him. He actually is pretty fast. Catches up
Raid
with
zombie.
I hate those zombies.
Hansel, and you're like, oh shit, he's gonna kill Hansel. He's all grody looking and like a creature. That's why he's saying a zombie. I'm saying vampire. All of a sudden, a fucking arrow comes out of his fucking forehead, and it's like, oh shit! Miraculously, they're saved. And they're saved by the woodcutter character.
Yeah,
And
if you think that sounds cool, don't worry, because this scene has nothing to do with the entire rest of the movie.
that's
It's never
why-
addressed ever again.
That's
So
why I
they're
was like, you know what?
zombies?
I kind of like this setup in the first because it's like, okay, this forest is dangerous. There's things in it and creatures and stuff. But yeah, they completely drop this storyline. They break the fact that there's no named characters. They've got the creepy dude that wants to rape her. They've got this random vampire, and this woodcutter who frankly is probably the worst character in the whole film because he causes everything. It just doesn't make sense. Whereas the original storyline, the father was so scared of his wife and wanted and loved the kids, but she kept saying get them out of here, and he would encourage them to come back and embrace them if they came back. This woodcutter's like, yeah, y'all can stay here, eat some of my fabulous food, but then get the fuck out of here and go this way, okay? I'm not going to escort you there. I don't got time to fucking escort.
Walk 2 days
Wait,
in that
really?
direction.
That doesn't make any sense when you just saved their fucking lives from a creature that was living in your house. Is not fucking explained. Hello? I mean, if
It's
you're
gonna be part 2.
if you were being robbed or broken into or whatever, then obviously if you put the time and effort to save the kids, why wouldn't you escort them to where they need to go? So it really, I mean, it's such a stupid moment in the film. You're like, ugh, okay, it was just there for like a little action scene, a little bit more. Haha, the woodcutter is here to save us. Maybe he'll save us in the
From
future.
a zombie that we will never address ever again.
And maybe he'll save us in the future.
Don't talk
No,
about that no more.
never shows up again. I thought maybe like the witch would kill him in some interesting, creative way since he's a great fighter and a great bowman. No,
Nope.
that would have been a much better
Yep.
film. Anyway, so they go
walk-
into the woods.
They walk through the woods
And immediately, this film is doing like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Immediately, when she walks into the film, the forest, she sees a bunch of witch characters.
they're all staring at her.
They're all staring at
You
her.
see multiple ones on the same screen, which
Yeah.
matters because there's only one witch and there is no multiple
That
people.
was never explained, and I was thinking about asking the director. But I asked the director 2 other questions. If you want to wait until after the spoiler section, I'll include a little bit of audio. I didn't take video, but I took audio to get his questions answered on what 2 things did I ask him? The Pink Girl story, and I asked him about that, which is this fairy tale within this fairy tale. I said, is that from another Grimm fairy
said
tale? No, it was made up completely for this film. Which completely distracts from the film. It's like, I kind of want to see that, that expanded upon. And they do expand upon it here, to be fair. And then towards the end, it's implied that Gretel... Well,
We'll get
there.
there. We'll get there. So they wander through the forest. They have this like weird mushroom trip for no reason.
I like some of the dialogue. To be fair to the screenwriter, I like some of it. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have given it a 5 because there are some great lines that stick with you. 2 of the lines that stuck with me, and I was like, that's nice writing, is it okay to trust somebody that shows up right at the moment that you need them? And she was talking about the woodcutter there, and I was like, that's fascinating. Will they play with that? Will they make this woodcutter ambiguous?
Matter.
Nope.
That's why it's
Right.
a 4.
Okay, gotcha.
that's
All
why
right.
he's okay.
And then the other line was,
was like,
the mushroom.
genius.
It's like
No.
she's talking to the mushrooms, doing something interesting on Hansel's behalf and for her behalf. It's like, is this one of those mushrooms that will poison me and kill me, or is it
A friendly
friendly
mushroom.
mushroom, or an aggressive, mean mushroom?
Well, they eat the mushrooms and then they get high as fuck. And then there's this whole like little kid on drugs scene that has no purpose.
No.
And it's just like, oh, cool, that's over. And then immediately in the next scene, they find the witch's house. And it's it's the witch's house. Like, this is we get back to the main story. So they look through the window and there's cookies and cakes and a pig and all sorts of things everywhere. And then the trailer.
The kid manages to climb in through the window, and she sees the witch like a vampire again. She lifts up her cloak, and you're like, what the fuck is she doing to the kid? And so she tries to get in, throws a big fucking rock, just bounces off the house. I was like, oh, cool. Is this house super powered? No, that's never explored or anything. And then
Nothing ever
and
is.
she comes out, and it's like, hey,
Well, she lights a fire.
she was
which
so
is important.
why was she lighting the fire? I thought maybe to like burn the house, but if you're gonna burn the house down, you're gonna burn the house down with your kid in there, or maybe she was just making the fire.
Or
she was gonna wait around for the kid.
Or she was teasing that fire's her weakness or something. That went nowhere. None of that mattered at all. Because that's how they killed the witch in the original story, is they throw her in a fucking oven and she burns to death.
Yeah,
But no,
I mean, we don't understand why she was like relaxing building a fire when her fucking little brother is in there. She needs to continue to throw the rock instead of at a door, throw it out of a fucking
climb in
window.
the window that wasn't locked in the first place.
But no, this witch presents herself as friendly, and she's got this massive feast.
She has sharpened teeth. That's totally normal. Black fingers.
Black fingers, which they never fucking question, even though throughout the film she's constantly
playing in
picking
her
up
food.
things and putting them in their mouths.
Yeah,
and
like, wash the damn hands, woman.
but what the fuck is going on there? And that was never explained. In fact, somebody in the Q&A session asked it, and his answer was basically
I saw a picture.
Pinterest and because it looked cool.
It was like in the 70s.
Yeah, he saw some woman with frostbite or something, and she had black fingers.
Oh, shit. I'm going to fix the green screen. Oh, whatever. Anyway, so continuing.
So then they stay in the house, and then they eat, and they're there for a couple days. They offer to do some work to like earn their keep.
Yeah.
And then things.
She seems better than the rapist, so they offer to be her slaves.
Yeah. And so she says that the Hansel can learn to chop down wood. Gretel can learn from her and do some stuff and learn magic-y stuff.
Hansel's subplot in this film is that he likes axes and he wants to chop trees. Awesome.
Yeah, it was real cool.
Went nowhere.
He's 8 years old. He
Yep.
likes to chop.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
I like
Hansel and the
Toto's.
Grimm fairy tale was a lot more clever and a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And then so she starts to there seems to be some sort of bond between Gretel and the witch, saying like you and I are similar. We've got the same sort of power. Starts to teach her like herb
No, you
magic.
skipped over the fact she does have powers. So Gretel
Yeah.
is hinted at being able to sense things and kind of see them before they happen. They don't really shove that in your face. I mean, I guess they do show like her visions in the forest. Well, if you're seeing things, then why not act on them? But she does kind of explain that away as these are just my visions. Should I? I did appreciate that line too, where it's like, should I act on these things? Is it too late already? Is it just my mind playing tricks on me?
So she has some natural power, and then the more they stay in the house, the more the creepy things start to happen. So they start doing more experimentation with the magic. Hansel's just pushed completely aside through this whole thing. Like, he doesn't matter at all.
About Gretel, and this witch makes a connection with Gretel.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, I'm going to show you how to control this stick. We're going to rub it with, like, lube.
Petroleum
Yeah,
jelly.
we're going to rub it down with Vaseline, and when you touch stuff with Vaseline, you can control it. Like, you can manipulate it with things.
She calls it salve or something
yeah,
like
you
that.
touch it with her salve, and it's not.
But I thought maybe it was the fat of children.
I did like the young witch when she turned back to her young.
You
Oh,
just
her
liked her because she was good looking.
What?
Covered in tattoos,
Yeah.
and you just like, yeah.
Okay, so Joe's talking about a moment where Gretel, who is in a cupboard looking in the back for something to replace something that was broken or something, she finds some wear and tear on the wall, and she starts picking at it, and she notices there's kind of something behind the wall. And later on in the film, she picks away at it completely when things aren't, it's like something's going on with this witch. She's hiding.
Where's the food coming from? Where's the milk coming from? There's no animals here. How you getting all this stuff?
And as she's picking away, she goes into this room, and it turns out to be a dream sequence, but every single dream sequence could really be happening. So she goes into the room, and there's a witch that basically is young, and it's implied that this witch is the very same girl in the story that Gretel was fascinated by, this pink girl who had inherent powers, and everybody was scared of her, and she was able to kill her father by him swallowing, a hot iron, and, she's basically got powers, and so they fucking got rid of her and left her in the woods. And so that's who this witch is. And she's got young version. I'm not really sure why she chooses to be old. I guess
she said is to
lure in children.
Lure in children, yeah.
Okay.
It's a grandma.
Makes
Come
sense.
on.
Yeah, but a creepy
With sharpened teeth.
Hey,
Right,
come on. You
be,
lure me in. Betty
you wanna
White.
be looking
Betty White,
like
that you?
that. You want to look like
No,
that.
it's a Betty White. He's like, I'm going in.
And Alex's shirt, there was a cat character.
Oh, yeah, there's...
So the witch did have a friendly cat, sort of a hairless sphinx kind of cat kind of thing. Anyways, which doesn't factor into the story, it just was there.
Once again.
Yeah. And where am I? Where am I going with this? Oh, eventually, as she's learning from the witch, she starts to sort of succumb to her charm and the dark allure and power, and eventually she yells at Hansel. She gets extremely annoyed with him, and Hansel's like, I want to go, because like she's constantly feeding him, and Hansel's like, I don't want to eat this.
He's miserable.
And because Gretel has been influenced by the witch, and they're kind of on a team as she's teaching her, Gretel's like, just do what you're told. And so, like, Hansel's like, God damn, my sister's yelling at me. I want to go home. And then she's like, finally, okay, you want to go home? I'll show you how to go home. And she just throws Hansel out, in the forest. And there's red light everywhere. I don't know why the witch is playing with Philips Hue's lights, but she is. And she's like, get out of here. But Gretel wakes up. She's like, was that a dream? And she's like, well, I'll go find my brother next morning. Or I'll go find him tomorrow morning. So what?
Yeah.
Man, I
Okay.
feel like shit, but tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Teach me more stuff or something. And first thing in the morning, I'll go looking for him. Anyways, the next morning, he's still not around. She's like, where the hell is Hansel? What did you do with him? And it's like, well, you could have found him yourself. And anyway, it turns out she's put a spell on Hansel, and he's in this secret room. And she's visited this secret room before, and there's like a table and dead children with blood, and basically it's revealed in the climax of the film that she's able to create all this food, because it's like, where does the milk come from? Where does the sweets come from, and the pies and the pastries? It's basically guts, blood, kidneys, lungs, body parts. And then she conjures up her magic, and it turns into nice, delectable, delicious food.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's good power.
It kind of is. And she's got another power. So in the climax of the film, she's like, let Hansel go, and she's looking for him, and she finds him. She's like, here. And she ties her down, actually, and she's like, here's what you need to do. In order to release your power, you need to do like I did. What did you do? She explains that this story about the little pink girl was real, and the little pink girl was actually her daughter. At first, I thought, oh, this is the little pink girl, and she's all grown up.
Yeah.
No, turns out, little pink girl and I guess another sibling, offspring, she takes him into her house, and she eats him because she's jealous of her power, and she just eats them all up, and she gets more powerful or something, I guess. Turns into a witch, and then makes her home out there. Instead of being left out there, she just goes out into the woods to lure other people to continue to consume them, and maybe that fuels her powers. And she's like, so she talks about how, like, you need to consume your one weakness. And so her weakness was her child, and she's saying, Gretel, your weakness is Hansel. You must eat Hansel. And so she has Hansel in this oven. It's an open oven, not an oven you have to climb into. but just an open air oven, a ladder, and a cage. I guess she's gonna put Hansel up there and then slowly lower him in or something. I don't know what
the
she doesn't
purpose
just
of that
fucking
was.
throw
Villain
him
style.
in there. Villain
It's
style.
villain
Yeah.
style.
James Bond style.
You have exactly 2 hours.
Yeah. Do you expect me to die? No, I expect you to eat. I don't know. All right, so but the one other power she has is she can transform into blood. She's like a pool of blood. She comes down, like blood starts coming from a pipe, and that's how she enters the room. The blood fills up the bottom of the room, and then she comes out of the blood with like a dress. And I was like, man, that was a cool visual. That might have been the other time, it reached the cool visuals. And then she explains to her, eat the fucking thing. And then she's like, no, I'm not going to do this. I love Hansel.
That's my brother.
And so, while she's distracted, because the witch, for whatever reason, says, go and say goodbye to your sister. And she uses her witch powers to make Hansel zombie over and lean in. I don't know why she had him lean in so that Gretel can tell even more secrets. This dumb witch is even helping her to tell secrets. Don't worry, everything will be okay. I'm gonna kill this bitch.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
You don't say that.
What are you saying? Oh, nothing. Could you make him lean closer to me so that you can't hear? Why, yes. Okay, and then she's like, okay, that is enough.
Sounds ridiculous.
Walk slowly up this ladder.
Walk slowly
for
up the ladder.
2 minutes.
Everything is like that in this film. As she's walking down into the room, she literally walks down every fucking step, and we watch it. It's mainly because the music is doing its job. Anyways, from Rob. Okay, so and then out of nowhere, while restrained, she's like, I don't want Hansel to die, so she goes, and she manages to throw the witch up against the wall.
Well, there's a stick. Because
right.
So we've seen earlier in the thing that she's like, when she's learning her powers to how to control inanimate objects like a stick. And so the only thing that she's ever been able to control is the stick. And then once she makes
the stick stand.
She makes a stick stand, and then she makes like a tree like bend down a little bit and
but that could have been a dream sequence.
Yeah. And so the stick just happens to be down in this room, and we don't know how it got down in the room because the only way into the room.
I think she brought it into the room.
Who
The
brought
witch.
it? What, the witch did? Mm-hmm. So she.
I don't know why she brought the.
She turned it into. Well, it was convenient because if
she brought it there and laid it up against the thing, and Gretel notices it.
It's like the only thing she knows how to.
Bringing your weapon.
Yeah, so she like does the force, and she grabs the stick, and then she pins her against the wall over the oven and lights her on fire.
Yeah, it doesn't like kill her right away. She's restrained, and she's like, no.
But she's on fire.
Well, she's restrained, and then the fire turns the witch on fire. Yeah, okay, gotcha. And then, as if the witch isn't already fucked, she decides to go like that, and it like makes the witch explode or blows her head off or something like that. And she's like, "Whoa, we've never seen such power! You are the chosen one,
mm-hmm.
right?
She must be Palpatine's granddaughter or something."
We did it. We fucking did it. Wow.
You had to.
Hey, I said the Force, so I mean, we were going there no matter what.
Okay.
And then she saves Hansel, but then it turns into this really cheesy, melodramatic. I think melodramatic is the right word. And dialogue that doesn't really work. It's like I have my path, and you have your path, and I am now super powerful. And I will do a journey of powerfulness because I am power, and I have all this power. Then I can choose to be either dark or light, and I will fill it with light. And then Hansel, and as she's narrating, because this film the whole time does have internal narration from Gretel, and so she's like telling herself this story and narrating what just happened and what she's gonna do in the future with her power. And then it's shown that Hansel, and she's like, and she tells Hansel, I'm going to give you a piece of myself, and don't worry, I'll always be with you. The piece of me will always be with you. And, I asked the director about that, and I think it was, hinting that maybe she gives a piece of her power, not necessarily magic, but her power to Hansel, because he has shown that she whispers to a horse, Hansel goes on his own way, turns out he goes back to his mom's house, and he lifts the axe effortlessly Whereas before, when he was chopping wood, one time he buried an axe and he's like, I can't get the damn man fuck.
Got them gains.
But he's like,
Got the axe power.
Son. And I guess they're like, Gretel and Hansel, 2 Hansel and Gretel. Get it? So that'll be the sequel, Joe.
No.
And it's his journey with his power, and I've got to go back and fight my sister.
And my axe.
That's
Yeah, that's basically it.
Well, that part 2 is basically the Amazon one. Hansel has to go fight his sister.
Oh, really?
It was bad.
Yeah. So I
That's what it
think
was.
that's funny. The Amazon Z movie is like, I'm sure this screenwriter wants that to happen. That he's going to have his own power in the future, and unfortunately his sister's going to go crazy, and he's got to go after his sister. But we're writing a sequel for you. But he manages to convince her in the end, and the power of the sibling love brings her
Overcomes,
back.
yeah, sure.
They wrote a better movie.
Where are they
for
getting
you.
all these kid parts from in this movie?
No, so it was, she had lured a bunch of kids into the woods.
So she just has like fresh kid parts forever?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess it's the body parts could rot, but then it still transforms into fresh,
She made a
delicious
freezer.
food.
Oh.
She's a witch.
Oh, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we had a hard
I
time
get
seeing
you
some of
because
the time.
we don't see any kids. We never hear about kids
No,
disappearing.
yeah.
So she was, and she's got food after feast after feast after feast.
And she was
it's like,
so
where are all these
secluded.
kids coming from?
She
Well,
was
this-
so secluded. I don't.
Well, this story's also, like, she said that the pink girl story is, like, super, super old. And so, like, this woman is the mother. And so it's been a long time since she's been out there all alone. And
Yeah.
we see ghosts of the kids that she's eaten at one scene in the movie. And I was like, oh, cool. Maybe they will have something to do with this plot. And that went nowhere.
No, it was just the ghost kids being released, and that was during her melodramatic narration.
Well, an hour before
Oh,
then.
now I understand as the kids are walking. Yes, the audience understands too. The kids have
Yeah.
been released.
Well, but just no. As soon as she
Their
gets to the
souls
house,
have been saved.
as soon as she gets to the house, she's standing in the mirror, and then all of a sudden, and then she turns around, and all these kids are like banging on the mirror,
Right,
and
'cause
like,
they don't want her to go inside and
Yeah.
stuff or face the witch. But ultimately, they fucked up because she defeated the witch and they got
Yeah.
released.
yeah.
Cool. All right, so that was the movie, female empowerment, and so now Gretel is a fucking super powered, awesome witch, good witch.
Maybe.
We
Question mark.
Yeah, good witch, maybe.
I
Maybe
don't
she'll
know.
take revenge on that one rapist guy that wanted to, hire her.
She might accidentally bite a kid and be like, this is delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah, but that would have been far more interesting if they did something like that, but they didn't.
She
They
eats
don't hint
Hansel?
at all that she's transforming into the witch or herself or the
Where'd she get
story's
the
gonna
horse?
repeat
Or a
itself.
zombie.
Don't you worry
Don't ask
about it.
questions.
She's got power, okay?
She's just like horse.
And then her fingers, it's shown that her fingers turn black for no apparent
Frostbite.
reason. Yeah.
It's cold out there.
Apparently, if you use powers, your fingers get frostbite. Skip it. Wait for it to come out later because unfortunately it is a little too slow paced, a little too slow burn, and a little too disappointing to pay off there. And what sucks is we wanted it to be good. We really did. January horror, guys. 2020.
Keeping the streak alive.
Succumbed to the
think so.
January horror. The next one is going to be The Lodge, and I hope The Lodge is going to
February.
be a lot better, so we have a chance.
But that was because it got pushed back, right?
I'm just so tired of seeing the trailers.
Maybe.
yeah, we've been
Yeah.
seeing the Lodge
Oh,
trailers
I
forever.
fucking hate the Lodge trailers. I'm
Yeah.
done with them.
I don't
All right.
know.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will end this by playing a bit of the audio from the Q&A session. I'll just keep it was a little lengthy, so I'll keep it to just my question, so you guys can see that. If you want the full version, I can put it up on I don't know
There were a lot of dumb questions. I don't know,
Patreon. Yeah, stupid questions.
It was
A little
kid
embarrassing because there were a lot of kids in the audience asking questions like, "Why did you make this film?"
He's like, because they handed me.
They handed me a script and I directed it. I mean,
Okay, well we gave you the Q&A right there.
Yeah, that's
That was
it.
the only other really interesting one. And then the other question was that lady old? And she's like, yeah, I mean, well, she's older than me, but she's not that old. And you know, OVA or something, the OV on
some show
Netflix
or
or something. She's
No,
like, yeah,
no.
she's the mother in that. Cool. All right. Anyways, guys, check out some of this audio, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next Angry Joe show. Guys, also don't forget we are offering our Mandalorian posters until the end of February. So check those out if you're interested. And there's a promo code right now for 25% off. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next Angry Joe Show.
Bye, guys.
In the film, they keep talking about a story, the pink girl. Is that a grim fairy tale I'm not aware of, or was that original for this film? And then the second part is, towards the end, it seems the film centers really heavily on Gretel, but it kind of makes some hints at Hansel has his own journey, and she kind of says, I'm going to give you a piece of me as you go. Is that implying that maybe Hansel has some kind of power as he goes off on his own?
We invented. There's no correlative fairy tale to that. That's completely of our invention. And I wanted to have a story within the story to sort of foreground the fairy tale element of everything. And yeah, the idea at the end is that Hansel and Gretel have always been Hansel and Gretel. That's how it's been always through time. They've always been joined by the ampersand, right? Hansel and Gretel, or Gretel and Hansel in this case. And so the idea to sort of let them go their own separate ways at the end of this movie was important, I think, for both of their growth. And yeah, we hint at the fact that Hansel has his own thing, his own power, his own self, his own destiny, his own fate. When he comes in and he's able to just pull the axe out of the table like King Arthur, right? Just as like the guy who could just do that. So there's some implied, I don't want to say magic, but there's some implied power that he has also.
Yes.
This may be a super stupid question, but can you talk about the choice for the title and how it's a very obvious switch of a phrase that people are so used to saying?
I mean, I think that's kind of the answer in itself. When the script came to me, it was already called that. So that was already on the title page. And of course, anybody, I think, gets that and goes, I wonder what that's all about. Because it is so, yeah, you've never seen, it'd be like saying Robin and Batman. They're never going to stop making Batman movies, so they might as well rape Robin and Batman at some point. That's kind of good, actually. Take it, dude, run with it. You're young, run. Yeah, the reversal is striking because it's so sort of unexpected, and I think we made good on it, right? Like we didn't just oh yeah, sure, it's just called that. Like we made it that.
Yeah.
We tried.
You did okay. Well, Mr. Perkins, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.